You know, sometimes it takes a really long time to get to a place that you really want to get to. A place that has been a goal of yours, a destination for a meaningful moment in your life, something that you've been looking forward to, that you've been pointing towards, something that you feel is going to mark a time in your life where you have arrived. And, you know, oftentimes that can feel like really far away. It can feel out of reach. It can feel like overwhelming in terms of you can't even figure out how to get there. There are so many obstacles, so many roads to get past. You know, it just seems like it's something you can't even visualize it. I mean, you can maybe see it off in the distance, but you can't truly see yourself there. You just know that you want to be there. You just know that you need to be there to complete something in your life. Whatever that might be, you know, something that is what you envision for yourself. Something that you just want. And sometimes it takes time. And sometimes it's a very slow process. Sometimes you have to get through all kinds of tests. You know, you're going to be challenged with every step that you take. And you're going to be pushed back quite often. So you might take 20 steps forward and 2 steps back, 30 steps forward and 10 steps back, 50 steps forward, you might take 100 steps back. But with each forward movement, you acquire more experience, you acquire more strength, you acquire more resilience, because every time you get pushed back, you know that you've been there, you know that you've moved forward, you know that you've made progress. And you have to make a decision every single time to keep going. You have to make a decision with every pushback to get up and start all over again. Except that you're never really starting from the same place, because now you've been somewhere, you know? Now you've been someplace where you kind of know what it takes to get past certain things. And so now, every obstacle that you pass where you've already been, you know how to do that. You know how to navigate through those cones. I think that everybody on YouTube should have the goal of being monetized. Everybody. I think everybody deserves to be there, to get there, to arrive at a place where you are compensated for the work that you do. And you know, even if the money is not important to you, and even if that's not something that you require in your life to feel a sense of accomplishment, I still think that you should strive for that, because if you get to a place where, you know, Google is asking you to put in your banking information and sending you a letter to punch in a code that shows up in your snail mail, and now you have to go into your Google account and put those numbers in there to make sure that they, you know, made sure that you live where you say you live. And I mean, it is a real sense of accomplishment. It is kind of, you know, something that is stamping that you accomplished something, that you did something. You know, you made it to the finish line. You got someplace that not a lot of people get to. And it's not about the money. And the other thing that I think, and this is just my opinion, this doesn't have to be the way you decide to do it or whatever, but I just think that you should do it in a way that you improve skills along the way, that you get better at what you're doing, whether it be your ability to speak into a camera, to communicate with people, to put a story across in a cohesive manner, whether it be your filmmaking, you make it look better, whether it be your lights and you could set up a room and make it look interesting. You know, you learn about focal lengths, learn about aperture, how much do you want blurred out in the background, do you want it to all be clear? What do you want your set to look like? I mean, for me, I'm advocating for going beyond easy mode. Because, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, anybody can do easy mode. And there's nothing wrong with it. You could sit in your car with your cell phone, yell and scream about the money that you made in 6 weeks. And if you could do that, God bless you. That's cool. But trust me when I tell you, 99.9% of you, that ain't going to work for you. You are not going to get monetized in 6 weeks, or even 6 months, or even 1 year. It's not going to happen. For some of you it might, but for 99.9% of you, that's not going to work. And that makes me question, how much are you willing to do to get to where you want to go? Are you willing to do what it takes to succeed, to reach a goal, to set a goal? Are you willing to commit to that, to not negotiate with yourself, to get up every day and to do the work, to improve every single day, to take on different tasks and get better at every single one of them? Learn how to use your camera. Learn what exposure is like. Learn what composition is about. Learn what depth of field is. Learn about foreground and background. Learn about all of it, the elements of a frame. Learn how to make your video look like a painting. Learn how to get your audio together. Learn, which is probably the most important part of your presentation, your audio. Right now, I'm using a purple Panda lavalier mic. I have it plugged into a Hollyland Lark Max. Why am I doing that? Because I hate the way this thing looks, and if I put it on my chest, it looks stupid. Now, this, you probably didn't even see it before I just pointed it out. And I could hide it under my sweatshirt. I just need some moleskin tape. Learn what that is. Google it. moleskin. You could tape it right up against your body, or you could tape it against the fabric that you're wearing. I could hide the lavalier mic, and I get great sound. I'm recording directly into the camera. I'm going right into my Panasonic S5. But just in case this wireless combination doesn't work for some reason, which happens sometimes, I mean, you know what? Most of the time it works. It's not a problem. I'm sure it's going to work. But if it happens that it doesn't work, I can also record directly into this Hollyland Lark Max, because I pushed this button and this little red light went on. So now I have audio going in here, and I have audio going into my camera. And so I have 2 sources of audio just in case. These are the things that you have to learn. I'm using a Minolta 28mm f2.8 lens. I'm using it in APS-C mode, so I'm actually shooting at 42mm because I wanted to get this look. If I used my 50mm lens, I would have had this camera way back into my kitchen, but right now it's still in my living room. And my living room looks completely different than what you're seeing right now because I know how to set it up. I know what to keep dark and what to light up. This lens is a manual focus lens, so I had to manually focus myself. So what did I do? I put a pillow on this chair, and then I put one of my light stands on it so it was right approximately where my eyes would be. And I focused on the stand, and then I took it off and I sat down and I'm perfectly in focus. And I'm shooting at f2.8, so I don't have much room to move around. But I'm in APS-C mode, so I have a little bit more room, but not much. And I have the set the way I want it. I don't want it completely obliterated, blurred out, but I wanted some bokeh in back of me just because I think it's a more pleasing look. I have the lights set the way I want them. I am in perspective to the lights in the way that I want, you know, proportionate. I mean, I have it set up the way I want it to look. I think that these are the things you should focus on in terms of your presentation. I have it on a little tripod, a cheap little tripod that I bought from B&H years ago. It cost me like $35. So I use it in here because it's not going anywhere. I have light stands. I have a Neewer light and a Pixel light. They're as big as a credit card, but they give off a lot of light. They're RGB lights. I can control the colors. They actually even have settings where I could make it look like an ambulance where it's flashing, or I can make it look like a computer flickering. It's fun. I can use it, and I've actually used it in a feature film. I don't have to have big, huge lights for this. I mean, are big, huge lights better than these lights? They're not better for this, but they're, more flexible. I can use them in more professional situations. I just recently shot a film for somebody, and we were fighting against these gigantic windows where all this light was streaming in, and so I needed much more powerful lights to do that because we were shooting right into the windows, and I had to make sure that my subjects, their faces and their bodies were lit up. And so these are the things you can learn about on your way to being monetized. The other thing that you could do is look into this camera. And if you feel uncomfortable talking into a lens and talking into a camera, make believe it's somebody you love. Make believe it's somebody who you trust, somebody who you can communicate with, somebody who you can confide in, somebody who understands you and who you understand, somebody who the conversations just flow. Because, I don't see a Lumix S5. I see somebody who I love. And that's the face that I see, and I picture her eyes, the way they look when I talk, and the way her mouth moves when she talks, and that's what I picture, the way she kind of throws her hair out of her face every once in a while, the color of her skin. I see her earrings that she wears, like, I see what she looks like. And that's who I'm communicating with. And I communicate with different people all the time when I do this. That's why it's comfortable for me. I'm not looking into a lens. That's the experience that you can gain from doing this as well. Think about story. There's got to be a beginning and there's got to be an end. Even if you're just doing something like this, which is not a play, it's not a film, it's not anything, but I started with a beginning, and I'm talking about some conflict, like these obstacles that you have to get past to get to a destination, getting monetized. The only reason I'm saying be monetized is because that is a finish line. It's a place to go to. It's a goal. It's the finish line. It's the end zone. It's home plate. You're trying to touch all the bases and get back home. And when you get there, you get monetized. And whether you make $50 a month, $100 a month, $100,000 a month, you've accomplished a goal. But more importantly, you've improved your skills. You've learned how to use your camera. You've learned how to use your lenses. You've learned which focal lengths resonate with you. You've learned about ISO and white balance and, like I said, composition, all of that. You've learned about making things look the way you want them to look. Not like, oh my God, this looks so good because this camera is so great. Nah, whatever camera you have, it's going to look great because you know what you're doing now. Because you know how to deal with these lights. Because you know how to deal with the space that you're in. And you know how to tell a story. You know how to tell the people, here we are, this is where we want to get to, these are the problems that we have, and here's what we're going to do together to get to that place. That's what it's all about. No matter what you're talking about, you're creating a story. I think everybody should set those kind of goals. I happen to be monetized. It took me almost 5 years to get there. Now, I didn't know anything about SEO, titles, thumbnails, all this kind of stuff. I had no idea. I wasn't thinking that way at the beginning. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even serious about YouTube so much. I was helping myself, like I was acting like my own director for my solo theater work. Like I was filming myself rehearsing, and then I would watch it back, and then I could, figure out how I could make it look better. Like I was like sitting in the theater watching me work, or I was like a wide receiver studying film of a defensive back in a football game, something like that. I was studying myself. I was using this craft to improve my other craft, and it all became kind of like the same thing, just part and parcel of the whole. I believe in setting goals. I believe in discipline and commitment. I believe in facilitating whatever you need to facilitate to get your desire accomplished, to get to where you want to go. I believe in that. But I know what it takes, I know it takes, a promise to yourself that I'm going to do this. I know it takes making a schedule. I know it makes sticking to it, and I know it means not negotiating with yourself. You know, the greatest skill that you can acquire is to learn how to finish, how to complete things, how to, you know, do what you say you're going to do. When you do that, it just opens up a world that you can't even believe, where you could accomplish anything. And what you realize is that it ain't about anything that anybody gives you. It's what you give to yourself. It's not about money. It's not about getting a job. It's not about anything. But all of those things will seem to come back to you and fall into place, because now you've made a promise to yourself, and you keep that promise all the time. And you're acquiring all this skill and all this stamina and all this strength and all this resilience and all this passion for accomplishment, for winning, for getting things done, for learning. You're growing your empathy. You have to listen in order to do this. You have to observe. You know, you can't always be the one doing the talking. You have to watch other people. You have to model other people. You have to allow yourself to be inspired. You have to humble yourself and realize that you don't know shit. You know, when you start, you don't know anything. You just know what you want. You know? And after you decide what you want, you have to figure out, what am I going to have to do to get what I want? And then once you identify the things that you have to do, you have to figure out, how am I going to go about doing these things? And then you have to make a schedule. And then when you make the schedule, you follow the schedule. Duh. And then I'm telling you, you're going to get there. And so even when things seem, you know, beyond your reach, like unrealistic, like you just think like, that's for other people. Like, I can't do that. That's just not me. You know, all you have to do is do it in increments, one step at a time, you know. You don't have to get the whole thing at once. It's not going to happen. And just be patient, but be relentless. Do not give up. Do not stop. Do not quit. And just understand that it's not going to happen right away. And when it does happen, it's just going to happen. You know, a friend of mine used to say, everything happens in divine time. You can't set an actual day that you're going to get there. You can set a schedule for like a whole year and follow that schedule, and maybe set goals along the way, like I want to get from A to B to C to D to E to F, all the way to Z. You also have to be flexible, because the world ain't all about you. And so things are going to happen along the way, and they're going to set you back. And so you might be disappointed in moments. You know, you might feel really, really frustrated, you know, and tired, angry sometimes, hopeless. But that's the good news, because when you feel those things, when you overcome those kind of feelings, that's when you're really growing. That's when you're evolving. That's when you're changing. You're spreading your wings, you know, you're starting to fly. Because every time you get punched in the mouth, you just keep moving forward. You get pushed back and you go forward again. You know, you get knocked down and you get up. That's what it's about. Never stopping. And the thing is this, no matter what your end goal is, let's just say, for argument's sake, you don't even get there. Let's say that you do this for the rest of your life, and when you finally, your life ends and you didn't get there, honestly, can you think of a better way to live this life than to be giving yourself permission to work as hard as you can, to be as productive as you can possibly be, to obtain as much skill as you can possibly garner, to just be the best version of yourself every day. Every day you're better than you were yesterday. Tomorrow you're going to be better than you are today. Can you think of a better way to live your life? I can't. And so I'm just saying, everybody here on YouTube should have the goal of getting monetized, because that's kind of like the thing. And then once, you know, what I'm learning is once you get monetized, you're just starting over again. Like now, you're looking at a different mountain, a higher mountain. And that's a perfect metaphor for life. Let's say that you win an Academy Award if you're an actor, or let's say you win a Grammy if you're a musician. Think about that for a second. If you win one of these awards, it happens this one day. You walk up on that stage, you take that award, you get these applause, you have all these good feelings, you get people to write about you, and suddenly all this stuff happens, you know, and then it's gone. And probably within a week or two, nobody cares anymore. Let's say you're the biggest star in the world. You're Denzel Washington. You're Julia Roberts. You're, whatever. You're like the biggest Billie Eilish. You win 10 Grammys and you do 1 million interviews and you're on TV and, you're everywhere. It's only going to last a few months. And then you got to do another album. Then you got to do another movie. Then you have to write another book. Then you have to make another film. It lasts for one day. Your whole life is a process. Your whole life is the journey. It's not these one-day moments that you win MVP of the NBA or whatever, because if you do that, now everybody's gunning for you. And so you got to get to work and do it again. And that's the gift. The gift is the opportunity to work hard and to do all this every single day. The gift is the chance to be better, to improve every second of your life, to never, ever be lazy and take even 1 millisecond of time for granted, because ain't none of this promised to anybody. I've lost so many people in my life suddenly. It happens. Shit happens. Look what's going on in California right now. There are people, 11 people gone so far from these fires. People losing their homes. There's all kinds of stuff happening. These people who are still there, they're going to recover. They're going to show so much resilience. California is an amazing place. They've dealt with like these unbelievable earthquakes and wildfires and mudslides and, all this biblical stuff that happens all the time. And they always recover, and they will recover again. And I guess what I'm saying is, don't take any of it for granted. When you're comfortable, when you're not dealing with stuff like that, when you're healthy, when you have time to work, when you have a schedule, when you've written down everything that you want to do it. Don't take today off. And do it with joy. Appreciate it. Love it. If you do anything that you hate, don't do it. Find something else to do. Of course, everybody has to work and make money and pay your bills and whatever, but you got to have stuff in your life that you absolutely love, that you need to do to live, that means everything to you. That's the only way your life means anything. You have to have this joy. That's what we have to do. That's what life is all about, to find this happiness, to find things that make us feel full and rich. Rich. You don't have to have money to be rich. You have to find these things that just make you feel swollen all the time, make your heart beat, give you those chills on the back of your neck and on your arms, like stuff that just makes you want to move all the time. Makes you want to get up early in the morning and do it. Stuff that you think about when you're cooking, when you're going to the bathroom, when you're getting in your car and going to the post office, when you're on the train, like no matter where you are, you're just thinking about stuff. You're writing, you're, just thinking about, rehearsals or working with your new camera in this case, or your lights or whatever. Like that's what you need in your life. Things that inspire you. It's not hard to find them. It might very well be things that you have right in front of you right now. Just choose something and do it. And don't waste time trying to choose something. And definitely stop making excuses. Stop buying all this stuff that you think is going to make you better. Stop saying, oh, I can't do it until I make a certain amount of money. You know what? When I was in the music business for a very long time, I noticed I started as a jazz artist, and then I got way into technology, and I actually became a beta tester for certain digital audio programs. Cakewalk, Sonar, Cubase, Logic Pro, Session 8. Musicians probably heard of these. And it got to the point where I started to not love music anymore. It just became all technology, all MIDI, and it just, and I had racks and racks of equipment. I had all this gear. And I just really wanted to do something more organic. I wanted to express myself creatively in a way where I didn't need all this stuff. I felt encumbered, I felt like bothered by all this shit. And I wound up being a solo theater artist. I shifted my whole life. I just dropped everything, and I knew I was a great storyteller. I knew that I felt a calling to do this. I knew that my activism was much better served in this genre of art. And so I wound up in the solo theater world. And one of the reasons I love it so much is because I always knew, and I know, that I could just get up on a stage or be on a street corner or be in a park or be anywhere, an abandoned storefront, whatever. All I need is some people in front of me and a story in my body. That's why I love memorizing lines. I get so excited because I know when I'm finished memorizing this, I get to share it with people. I could go anywhere I want. I can go to open mics. I could just show up in places where people don't know me. I can get on the train and go 500 miles and show up in another state, perform for some people, and just come home. Have the most amazing experience. Meet new people, inspire, be inspired, share. Don't need anything. So there are so many things out here that you could do without having the excuse of needing money or backing, or support. I need that grant. I need, producers, whatever. You don't need shit. You just need you and a promise to yourself. And guess what? You deserve it. That's the best thing I said in this whole video. You deserve it. My friend Lisa says to me all the time, there's nothing too wonderful to happen to me. And she tells me to just say that to myself over and over again. And I put it on my refrigerator. There's nothing too wonderful to happen to me. And that's what I'm saying here. You deserve it. We all do. And so make a promise to yourself. And as Nike said, just do it. I think I'm going to end with that. You deserve it. And I hope you take advantage of this moment, and I hope that this video was contributing to you and feels like it added value to your life, because that's what I'm all about. That's it.